AudioJungle.
These people have been wrong about everything they've talked about. They would gladly enshrine the power of corporations to silence information such as the origins of coronavirus, which they did. It would silence criticism about the lockdowns, which they did. They'd silence criticism about masking, which they did. They silenced criticism about shutting down businesses and restaurants and allowing giant corporations to consolidate market power, which they did. They will continue to gladly go ahead and redistribute wealth to the super rich and throw little scraps to the rest of us and say that they gave us something. Meanwhile, our prices go up as a result of all the kind of spending they want to do, guided by their disinformation ministries. Joining me now to talk about this and other issues related to the fallout from the COVID pandemic is Rebecca Rogers. She's a co-founder of Sparrow Clinic in Birmingham area, and also she works with ConcernedDoctors.org. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. And, you know, I wanted to have you on because you are very keen on organizing to make sure that a lot of the ugly behavior that continues to happen on a state and federal level and even local level doesn't keep happening as we've seen in the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and getting involved with Concerned Doctors?
Absolutely. I was in international business, started doing that. I actually worked in China. We had an office in China for a while, so I did international business. We exported to, instead of importing everything, we actually did the exporting. So it's an international business. I did some lobbying in D.C. We worked to make things right and support the little guy. And I thought I was finished with that part of my career. My son developed an autoimmune disease. Doctor said it would never heal, so I became a mom on a mission that's not acceptable. I did believe he was vaccine injured like so many other people. And Western medicine said, okay, this can't heal. There's nothing you can do about it. You might as well get accustomed to it. That's not acceptable when it's your child, your loved one. So I promised God that if he would heal my son, I had a responsibility to help others. So we co-founded Sparrow Health and Performance in Birmingham, Alabama. As we were going through this process, I had friends who are still in China. They were telling me about what was going on in the end of 2019, early to 2020. And I just felt like, I should do something, but I kept praying for God to send someone else to do that. And in the devotional period, it came in and it was like, it wasn't an audible voice, but it was in my spirit where it said, well, you're somebody. You're equipped. What are you doing about it? So with that, Focus on America was born. Focus on America is a grassroots organization that encourages Americans to become involved in their community, to be active, to ask the questions, to replace those who do not protect their God-given and constitutionally guaranteed liberties. I mean, we can't be complacent anymore. And while I was working on that organization, it was taking off. I met some of these amazing doctors who wanted to go back to their calling of why they got into medicine. They want to protect that doctor-patient relationship. And I became the organizer for helping them share COVID truths across the state of Alabama and elsewhere. So, nutshell, that's what we do. I am so proud of these organizations. I cannot tell you the number of hours that volunteers, the doctors have put in, and they've gone against all the odds to make a difference for people like you and I.
What's the biggest concern you have going into this year and the next year about the pandemic and what's coming here from the concerned doctor's perspective?
Well, I'm concerned, and we all should be concerned, about public health taking away the right of our relationship with our physician. What is going to dictate the health care for me and my family? It isn't a one-size-fits-all. What are we going to do to protect the overstep and the taking away of our medical freedom? It's guaranteed in our Constitution, and it has been ripped from us in the past 2 years. It has been stolen from us, the right to treatment, the right to have informed consent, all of those things have gone by the wayside. And if we don't fight to protect those, we're not going to have any left.
So do you organize doctors to get alternative treatments to people outside of the traditional protocol that's been mandated from on high, from CDC and everything?
Well, these doctors had already done tons of research. They were already treating thousands of people, keeping them from going into hospital where they most likely would have had a death sentence. In many cases, they've rescued people from the hospitals. So this is just an organization to bring in like-minded doctors so that they know they're not alone. They have research beyond what the NIH and the CDC tells them, and it gives them an opportunity to have comrades that are standing side by side with them, and they're sharing the information so that they can treat their patients in a loving and caring way that just doesn't say, go home to die, there's nothing else that we can do for you. Never before has that been acceptable. We should make sure it is never acceptable again.
So how do we do that? What do we do to make sure that that doesn't become the next public health response when there's a new pandemic or a new variant or whatever that comes around?
You become active in your own health care. If you're not happy with the relationship you have with your doctor, if they sent you home, find another doctor. If you can't find another doctor, go to concerneddoctors.org. If you have a doctor that is doing all these things and they need an ally, send them to concerneddoctors.org so that we can work together to overcome this on a national level. It is so very important that we take a stand to prevent these atrocities from happening again. People died needlessly. We don't need to stand by and allow that to happen any further.
What do you think is the best way to hold the folks accountable who have allowed people to die without their loved ones, or to die with remdesivir and blocking them having access to, very, non-toxic solutions like ivermectin? What is the solution to make sure that doesn't happen again? Let's hold that thought. We'll take a break. We're listening to A Neighbor's Choice Radio. I'm your host, David Gornoski. We're speaking with Rebecca Rogers with ConcernedDoctors.org. Back after this with more. I'm David Gornoski here, and I'm here with Rebecca Rogers, who joins me now from ConcernedDoctors.org. So what can we do to make sure, what is the best way to hold the folks accountable who, it's such a labyrinthine mess of bureaucrats and some elected officials making executive orders which were unconstitutional per their state law constitution, and also things that were happening with Fauci and his unaccountable group funding reckless, low-security, biosafety level 2 labs in Wuhan and God knows where else. How do we make sure, there's a lot there, but what are some things that we can do to hold them specifically accountable for the things they've done?
Well, I think you always start, every grassroots movement starts at the local and state level. First off, you cannot be a complacent citizen. You have to be a voice for those things that you care about, for your family, for your loved ones. Leave a legacy for future generations. Our forefathers fought for us to have these rights. We can no longer be complacent. We have to educate the public. So, for example, we have events. Concerned Doctors has events that educates people. We invite doctors. We invite regular citizens. Come, be a part of that. If your doctor doesn't know and wants to be a part of a larger organization, send him our way. We are working on a documentary that's going to tell the truth about how our amazing doctors were able to provide treatment that went against the NIH, the CDC. They kept them out of the hospital. They did all of these things, so that documentary is going to be available on a national level. So we want to make sure when it comes out, you can be people can be a part of that. They can see the story. This is true. This is what happened. It's not conspiracy theory. This is what people lived, and their story matters, and we want to make sure that people hear that story. That's what's going to help fund what we do, to bring out these things so that we can tell the truth. We can expose these people for who they truly are. Pressure your legislators. Make calls, call emails, be an active participant. You can do that by being an individual and supporting us with a small donation. If you're a large benefactor and you want to make a donation, you can do that. If you just want to volunteer, we need boots on the ground in every city, in every corner of the U.S., exposing these lies for what they are. And very soon you will see a lot of good things coming from this documentary that started in Alabama, and doctors all across the United States were doing the same thing. Now they have a place to go and gather and educate other doctors and the public on how to put an end to this madness that's murderous.
So, do you fear that there are other unaccountable labs around the world, not just in China, but also maybe in America and other countries that are doing reckless experimentation with dangerous pathogens that are not properly accountable to, checks and balances to make sure there's not another COVID scenario?
Personally, absolutely, I do believe that. I mean, wasn't it just recently that I believe it was Merck, but I'm not certain on that, so don't hold me to that, where we found smallpox that was unaccounted for.
Right.
So why wasn't it accounted for? How did it get in a pharmaceutical's hand? Those are under the NIH, the CDC. Those are supposed to help in high security, but yet they were in a pharmaceutical lab. Something doesn't add up. Why is someone not why hasn't someone besides you asked that question? Why hasn't someone said, I'm going to do some real investigative journalism and I'm going to get to the bottom of this? Well, maybe it's because they're bought and paid for, or maybe they don't want the public to know. But I believe the things that are being used, people would be appalled, and if they knew exactly to what extent, and I don't know what extent that is, but what little I'm privy to, I am concerned on what is the next thing that's going to be. What's the next thing going to be? How is it going to operate? How are we going to have to be prepared for that? And we have to take action and be prepared now. You have to be a proponent for you and your family to put an end to this.
So is there any resources for folks who are victims of vaccine injuries from these adverse effects they've had from these novel products that concern doctors or any other group that you work with can help with?
Absolutely. There are several doctors within our organization that are treating long-haul COVID. There are several within the organization that are treating vaccine injuries. And it's really sad, to see so many people. Some people took it without knowing. They trusted the system. And that's okay. My grandmother always used to say, she told me, she goes, Rebecca, do what you know is best until you know better. What Satan meant for evil, we can turn around for good. So let us, contact us. Go to concerneddoctors.org. We'll try our best to put you in touch with a doctor that can help you with vaccine injuries. Some people took it because they were coerced. They were going to lose their livelihood. They had mouths to feed at home. And, now they are just beside themselves that they allowed this to happen because they thought it wasn't going to happen to them because it was safe, right? No, it's, these people are seeing side effects that, we don't even know what the long-term side effects are. This is just the short-term side effects. But don't lose hope. There's always hope. Give us, reach out to us on our website. We'll be happy to help you any way we can. See if we can't get you in touch with the right doctor in your area and see if we can't get you some assistance.
And so what do you guys find helpful in your Sparrow Clinic project? Tell us a little bit about maybe some things you guys are doing to help folks with certain issues related to these issues.
Well, we do a full EBO2. There's some things there. We can do NAD IV therapy. We do PIMP therapy coming very soon. We'll have hyperbaric oxygen therapy. It's lifestyle medicine as far as stem cells, PRP. Now, that isn't necessarily for long-haul COVID. Long-haul COVID would be PEMF therapy, would be NAD IV therapy. Glutathione is your body's master antioxidant. That's what helps your body get the toxins out of the liver. So that's something that if you've been poisoned or you have certain toxins in your body, you want to make sure that you're able to get those out. And glutathione assists with that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about glutathione. What have you guys found its benefit? What does it do for folks? Is it a slow thing, or does it see immediate results when people take that?
It depends on the person and the toxicity level. We've seen people who have had amazing results right away. Some people are a little bit more toxic, and they take a little bit longer. It also depends on the dosing that the doctor decides to give you, what else is going on. But previously, it's been reported, cancer patients have high liver numbers, or people who are really toxic have high liver numbers. And you can actually see those numbers go down after dosing and a protocol with NAD and glutathione.
Yeah, that's something I've heard a lot of folks talk about. But of course, Rebecca Rogers, this new disinformation board probably would not like us to know anything good about glutathione for some reason, right? It's not patented.
Oh, glutathione, vitamin C, vitamin D3, McDonald's is essential, but taking care of your health and supporting it with healthy food and nutrients, not so essential these days, right?
Yeah, that's right. Everything they can recommend has to have a patent. That's what I found. That's the common denominator. If it's a patented product, that means it's part of the good old boy club. If it's a generic or public domain thing, like a generic drug, or like you said, vitamin C or vitamin D3 or something, that's just disinformation, apparently, in this new brave world they're creating.
Absolutely. I mean, it's worked. Well, actually, one thing that you'll find really interesting is all 7 hospitals in Shanghai right now use high-dose vitamin C intravenously as standard of care for COVID, yet you could not mention it as for anything because it was disinformation in the United States. But China is allowed to use it in their hospitals.
So why do they care about their people more than our public health officials? That's weird.
Oh, no. Yeah, I've asked that several times myself, but I can't get a straight answer.
So you've been to China yourself? What's that like?
Actually, the people of China are very, very loving and caring. It's the government with China that you have an issue with. And, there's no tipping there. They do their job really well. They take pride in a job well done. They take care of their immediate family, their extended family. The area is clean. But then you stand in Tiananmen Square. It's a Sunday afternoon. The families are flying their kites, having a great time. And you turn around and you look across, and a high-story building has the dictator plastered on the side of it as he's looking. And you're standing there thinking, when I was there, this is what I thought. I live in the United States of America. I am so thankful that I get to protest and have freedom of speech to say these things. And where I'm standing right now, students were plowed over for doing the same thing. It's such a feeling of awe, and now we're almost there and being shut down with our freedom of speech.
Well, Rebecca Rogers, we really appreciate the things that you're doing to organize on behalf of our health freedom. So we want to commend your work in that regard. And what are your final thoughts here as we come to a close here in this segment?
Don't stand by. Be an active participant. Nothing is impossible. Dream big. Expect great things. Visit any of our websites, and we'll connect you and get you involved.
Well, thanks again, Rebecca, for joining us.